we're still in the business of shaping policy and advancing development. We started from South Africa, and now we're heading back home, where we want to talk about the decision by our president to reopen the land and the sea borders between Nigeria and Niger. What would be the implication of this? Most importantly, the economic implication of this. To shed more light on this, we are being joined by Dr. Dayo Kayode, who is a political technocrat and also a business analyst. Dr. Kayode, glad to have you join us on Any Extinct this morning.
Yes, it's my pleasure being with you this morning, Femi. Good morning.
All right, I can see you're set for the conversation. So let's set the ball rolling. I'd like you to react to the decision by the president to reopen the sea and the land borders between Nigeria and Niger. What do you make of this development? Let's start with that.
Interestingly, Nigeria has only land border with Niger and no sea border with that country. But again, as good as it may be, nice that, yes, we can now have our international trade with Niger Republic. No doubt about that. But the question is it only Niger Republic border with Nigeria that had been closed in the past months? How about our land border with Cotonou? Why is it not also open? Are we now trying to discriminate in between those two various borders? That is one. It's Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu trying to use that one to placate the new government in Niger Republic, bearing in mind that when that particular government took over from the former one, the Nigerian president was not in support of that particular government. And a lot of sanctions were being even heaved over that nation by ECOWAS. So if you are trying to placate Niger Republic leaders, why not extending it also to semi-border? Because when you look at the contour of goods and services that enters Nigeria from the Niger Republic, it is highly too small to that comes in from semi-border. So I will advise the president to also include in his policy that of semi-border, not only Niger Republic border with Nigeria.
All right, so if Nigeria is reopening border with Niger Republic and hasn't said anything about reopening the border within Benin Republic and perhaps other countries around its borders, do you think it's maybe first step, then later on, by the time the border between Niger Republic and Nigeria is opened, it'll move on to that of Benin Republic?
No, I wouldn't see it. I wouldn't see it as maybe first step, because all those borders were closed at the same time by the last administration. I'm only seeing it as a way of placating the government of Niger Republic based on the position that Nigeria took when that particular government took over from the former government. So if you are not using our economy to play politics, to play international politics, how do you think that one will effectively improve our economic stand, bearing in mind our experience in our economy presently? So let all the borders be considered to be opened so that economic activities will spring up again in those areas for Nigerians living in those areas to survive economically.
All right, let's look at the reasons why the borders were closed in the first case. Now, for that of Benin Republic, you recall that customs has been struggling to curb illicit trade around the borders and smuggling as well. And the government saw it as a better solution to close the borders to encourage local production and to curb that. But if that has not been addressed, providing adequate security around the borders, control around the border, do you think it would be a smart decision to open the border with other countries? In the case of Niger Republic, it's been a political situation, political tension rising between Nigeria and Niger. So do you think that, how do you see the decision of the government looking at the issues around the closure of border between Nigeria and Niger, the reopening as well, and the issues that had been before the borders were closed?
Now, coming from that your angle, are we saying that it's only through semi-border that we have been having smugglers operating? Do you want to say that it's those customs around there, those custom officers around there are the only ones that are allowing all those activities to take place there? How about the one in between Nigeria and Niger Republic? We have even had situations whereby it's being reported that we have more smuggling activities taking place over there than in semi-border, than from semi-border. So what are we talking about? Again, to what extent have you been able to change the attitude of the custom officers working in those, at those borders? If now you want to lay some blame on the lapse of custom officers. Again, even at that same semi-border, are you also aware that since when it has been closed, we have been having a particular individual that has been allowed to be operating at that particular border? So why? Why? Is that particular individual having two heads that is now making that person to be carrying out his business activities, on that particular route? Are we now saying that we are now throwing open, we are now throwing into the bin equity and fair play when it comes to economic operations in our nation? So if you want to allow equity and fair play and justice, as we are opening that place, also open other borders so that everybody can have a level playing ground in their economic activities. It's not that you'll be giving some people edge over others. Little wonder you say somebody is richer than this one. How wouldn't we have that when some people are being given undue advantage? So I will still advise that no matter what is happening in those areas, as much as you have opened Nigeria border, which is good enough, also let us extend such to other borders so that everybody will have a level playing ground towards undergoing their economic activities.
All right, Dr. Kayode, the decision to reopen the land and the air border between Nigeria and Niger could also have business reasons, apart from the political side of it. So let's look at the business side of it. How much of boost will it be for trade, what we call cross-trade, cross-border trade between Niger and Nigeria with this decision to reopen these borders?
Now, for us to be able to have a good assessment of this, we have to look at it. What is the quantity or what is the volume of trade that goes through the land? Goes through the land, goes through the air, and through the sea. Again, when you now look at the sea and the air, of which we have with Niger Republic, what and what comes in from Niger Republic to Nigeria through air and through land? To a very large extent, I think I am aware that it's only through land that Niger always bring in goods to Nigeria. And those are grains like wheat, like beans, like corn, probably onions. But when you now look at the quantum of goods that comes in through the sea, between you and me, it is very huge, very, very huge. And who among these countries do we have sea border with? Is Semen. You have a lot of goods coming into Nigeria through the sea at Cotonou there. And we have Nigerians going there to clear their goods over there towards bringing it to Nigeria. So for me, the economic implication of opening Nigeria border cannot be compared to that of the one between Benin Republic and Nigeria, and again between Cameroon and Nigeria. So if you are looking at the economic implication of reopening of our borders to neighboring countries, I think that of Nigeria with Semen, Benin Republic, and that of Cameroon should even first be considered. Should be considered. If it is economic, but I'm saying it with all intents and purposes, with what we have on ground, with the facts on ground, that it is not economic, rather it's political, to placate the government of the Niger Republic against our position to their taking over of governance in that country.
But do you think there are any benefits for the reopening of border between Nigeria and Niger Republic? Do you see any benefit in it?
Rather than looking at the benefits of the opening of the border, I would rather look at the benefits of us having peaceful coexistence from that with that nation, because it is the water from that nation that we dam here in Nigeria that we are using to generate electricity. So
how would there be peaceful coexistence
I would rather look
if Niger perceives Nigeria as an enemy?
You say what? What do you say?
I'm asking, would there be peaceful coexistence if Niger perceives Nigeria as an enemy? To avoid that, do you think, or do you not see the reopening of border as a way of Nigeria showing itself friendly and a partner with Niger? And also, this is coming on the heels of the ECOWAS agreement to lift sanctions imposed on Niger after the coup.
And that is exactly what I have been saying. that that opening of the border is an afterthought to support because we have nothing to, we have everything to lose if you don't support that government. When we also look at the reasons why those people decide to take over government, we see that they are very, very right. They are fighting for their people, not only for their people, they are fighting for the whole of Africa, that Africa should lose itself from the claws of the imperialists. And now that ECOWAS had seen it, because so many of us had proved it to ECOWAS, that there is need to support that government. So Nigeria itself has also seen it and said, okay, we have no option. Now let us show that we are their friends. Open that border so that we can have a peaceful coexistence. All right? But then, if you are looking at it from that perspective, and you are now opening that place, you're supposed to have seized that opportunity to open other borders, especially now that we are trying to improve the economy of the people. People are suffering. Not only people in Lagos that are suffering, people at those border towns. They are even suffering the more because all their livelihood depends on activities within those border towns. So why can't you relieve them of their economic woes and then also use this opportunity to open those borders so everybody can have economic respite and then live accordingly?
All right. Interestingly, the business relations between Nigeria and Niger seems to be getting stronger with the decision to build, the railway project that will connect Nigeria to Niger. That's the Kano City to Niger. And interestingly, the Nigerian government has secured the sum of $1.3 billion. What do you make of this development? Do you think this will further strengthen the business relationship between these two countries and also boost what we call cross-border trade?
Yes, no doubt about it. It will boost relationship between the two countries. However, let me also say this, that particular project was initiated by the last administration. And some of us came out to say then that, listen, of what economic importance is that project to our economy? Or what economic importance? Because here in Nigeria, we lack this facility, this railway facility. We lack it here in Nigeria. So why don't you spend this money? To improve on railway network in Nigeria rather than to Niger Republic? It's not only Nigeria that is doing business with Niger Republic. Ghana is doing a lot of business with Niger Republic. But do you see Ghana doing that? Do you see Ghana wasting their resources on that? Now, this particular project now, billions of dollars, who is going to pay it? Is it not supposed to be a burden shared between the two countries? Is it only Nigeria that is having economic of scale as regards doing business with that country? So why is the burden not shared between the two countries? Let me take you back to the ECOWAS highway. The ECOWAS highway. Is it only Nigeria that is bearing the burden? No. So we're putting the burden of Niger on Nigeria that is still looking on how to improve the livelihood of its citizens. Student loan is still there. We cannot give our students loan to go to school, despite the increment in school fees. We don't have good health facilities. Not to talk of agricultural infrastructure. So why taking this money to that place? Why in the first instance? Why? Of what importance? For me, despite the fact that yes, it can boost trade, I still don't see why we should invest such a huge amount on such a project.
All right, well, thank you so much for being with us on the show. We wish we had more time to expand the conversation, but let's see what the reopening of the land and air border between Nigeria and, particularly land border between Nigeria and Niger, what benefit it will bring to Nigeria, and then the air border and other sanctions that have been lifted off Niger by Nigeria. We hope that it brings forth good things, and it is something that later on Nigeria is proud to meet that decision. But for the other borders, let's wait and see what will happen with that.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.